2 years ago, I was down in central Pennsylvania on some business, and I happened to be riding through some of the small towns up in coal country. And as I was riding through, I noticed these banners hanging on the light poles. And first time I went by them, I said, okay, I really didn't pay too much attention. But when I had to come back through the town, I pulled over the side of the road and took a good look at them and noticed that they were banners of veterans from that town. And I started looking around, and they were everywhere. There must have been 75 or 100 of them. And I was very impressed because this town, later on when I got home, it looked like a small town, but I looked it up on the internet, and there were only 3,000 people in these towns. So, wow, 3,000 people put up a display like this? That's quite an honor to the veterans. So I came back to Bridgewater, and I spoke to my friend Bill about it because I knew he was involved with the VFW here in town. And I said, Bill, this is what I'd like to do. What do you think? And he said, come on down to the VFW and present it to the guys. And you want to talk about my reception there?
Sure, I'll be glad to. Well, I brought it towards the VFW when we had our meeting there a couple of weeks ago. And I mentioned what David Moore wanted to do in town to put all these posters up. And I thought it was a great idea right from the beginning. And now we have about 4 people in our VFW who are getting posters who will put them up on the poles. And we're all for this program, and I think it's really going to work good. And it's going to go right through the 18 all the way down to the Common and back up again. So it's going to work. I know it will.
Bill, do you need to be a member of the VFW to get a poster up?
No. All you have to do is be a veteran in Bridgewater one time or another. Okay? You don't have to live in Bridgewater, but you have to have affiliates in Bridgewater at one time. And then you can get the poster up. You can get it for yourself. You can get it for your father, your uncle, your brother, your friends, as long as they were a veteran and they lived in Bridgewater.
Okay.
Very simple. And we have applications. I have one right here. And this is the brochure that's in the middle of it. It gives you all the information you need to know about this whole program. So go for it. Everybody else is.
And I feel like it's a great educational tool as well for kids that are growing up in middle school and high school. Maybe there could be projects dedicated to some local veterans. And maybe some grandkids finding out about their grandfather or great-grandfather can do so through this program.
Right.
Yeah. I think it adds a dimension to our honor programs for the veterans in that we're putting an image on the poster. So you can see that everybody knows it was a real person, obviously, but to see the veteran's image on a poster, I think it means a lot more. You really can relate with the person on that poster. In this case, I've got my dad up there, and I'm looking for other people. You don't have to be, as Bill said, you don't have to be deceased or active military. You can be, or whatever. But just as long as you have that Bridgewater connection and that you be a veteran. One of the other things that motivates me, a little personal story. A young man that I went to school with from the 2nd grade right up, and we went through college together. He went to Vietnam in 1969. And the last night that I spent with him before he left, it was just before Thanksgiving, he said he was concerned. The biggest concern he had was that if something happened to him, he was the last of his family name that he knew of, and he was an only child. His name was Chuck Kassock, and they lived down next to the Riviera. And unfortunately, 7 months later, he died in combat. So that's always bothered me, that his name isn't anywhere in town other than the memorial on the Common and up at the St. Thomas Cemetery where he's buried. But I just wanted to bring the spirit that I saw in these towns in Pennsylvania to Bridgewater. I went to the VFW, I went to the Legion, the people at the Vets Club, I went before the council, I presented before the Knights, the Lions,
Masons.
And the Masons. And I've received tremendous support from everybody. I'm hoping that the community will support this program. these banners, as you will read if you pick up a brochure or the application, if you purchase one, you own it. It's yours, and we will make the opportunity available so that we can display it around town. We hope to have them. We hope to have a significant number for display come this Veterans Day in November. We hope to have more to put on display for Memorial Day next May and Veterans Day. And we've approached the regional high school to see if we can get the vets pictures of BR graduates who've given their lives in combat for the country over the years. There's 6 or 8 of them, and we'd like to see their banners along the approach to the new Bridgewater Rainham High School during those 2 time periods. They may be up longer, but around town we haven't decided yet, but they're going to be displayed anyways for those 2 days, and it's more than just 2 days a year. So we want to give these people the recognition that they deserve.
Excuse me.
So around town, these banners are going to be up all year long, or just those 2 days?
Well, we're in the middle. We're going to display them as much as we can. They're designed to last for a couple of years of all year long exposure to the elements. In Pennsylvania, I was there in the winter, and these things were still up on display. We may only display them around the holidays, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, sometime in the summer or whatever. It all depends on how things go. As Bill mentioned, we originally wanted to line Bedford Street from the Vets Club, from Cottage Street, all the way up into the center of town, through the center, and down Broad Street. Now, how many will we have? That's up to the public. But in every town that I've spoken with, they have had to cut it off only because they ran out of poles to display it. We've made application to Verizon to use their poles. We haven't heard back from them yet. We have a number of other alternate locations where we can put them up, but we'd really like to see them along the roadway. So when the public comes into town, guests come into town, they can see it. Another aspect of this that you mentioned about the possibility of involving the kids, in doing my research with different towns, I found Dartmouth, Mendon, Leominster, I all had programs like this. But the best one I found was in Sanford, Maine. And they involve many different aspects of town government, especially the school. And they have a program in the high school where they have an Adopt a Grave program where they go and make sure that the grave is, the stone is well kept. They do a little research on the vet that's honored with that grave. They put together a little booklet of all of the banners that are up, and they do a little bio of each of the vets. So it gets, the English classes. I'm even told that the band put on a concert of period music. So it can involve, the opportunities are endless with the town. It all depends on how much they want to get involved.
Definitely sounds like a great learning opportunity and a great opportunity for anybody in town to learn more about some of the people that fought for our freedom and fought for our country and are still fighting overseas, because, as you mentioned, this is for anybody who served in any war, but they had to have Bridgewater connections. And if they're interested in getting a banner just like this, what do they do again?
They can pick up an application. We hope to have some of them at the town hall. We may have some brochures at other businesses, possibly down at Roach Brothers and so forth. Or you can go on Facebook if you frequent there. I'm not a big frequent Facebook user, but there is a Bridgewater Hometown Heroes page on Facebook, and the application is on that. And you can also go by email to bhhbanners at gmail.com. And that information is on the back of the brochure, and hopefully you may be able to scroll that on the bottom of the screen, possibly.
Yeah, definitely.
And my phone number will be there also if it's in the brochures. It's in the application. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to call me anytime. I'd be more than happy to explain and answer any questions you might have.
Also, I'd like to cut in there just for 1 second. Now, on these banners that we're making, they're heavy vinyl. They'll last for a long time. And it's not just the front part of this poster. You get your picture on the back side of this poster. So no matter what side of the street you're on, front or back, you're going to see yourself up there, and it's going to look great. It really is. And like I said, these are heavy vinyl that last for years, believe me. So get out there and get your application and give us a buzz.
We had a gentleman called us the other day who has 2 sons that have served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he wanted to have one of his boys on one side and another boy on the other side. I said, sure. They're home, they're safe, and we want to honor them. So we'd love to have we'd love to be able to display the poster. And these posters, when they're not being displayed by the town, if you want to bring them home, you come down and get them, and you can display them at your house, wherever you wish to do that. We hope to be able to put some of them up in the high school. Some people may not realize that we do have a Bridgewater War Memorial Auditorium. I'm not going to tell you where it is. I want you to do some research, but it's a beautiful auditorium. The men who served in World War II, this was one of their wishes, that they could have an auditorium in Bridgewater, and that auditorium was built. And it's very well used by the community right now.
So,
And I put a challenge out there for all you veterans. Buy one of these, get your picture up there on the pole, be one of the guys. Thank you.
and again, the banners are professionally made here. They look great here in studio, and they're going to look great going along the road on Route 18, Broad Street through the Commons. So thanks, guys, for coming in and sharing the banners with us today.
Our pleasure.
It's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.